Incredible. Incredible. I love this so much. It's so legendary. Hello and welcome back. It's the last video of my Halloween month. And today we're taking a look at, of course, the one and only Thriller by Michael Jackson. And I felt like this would be a great video to close the month with. After this one, we'll be back to my regular programming. And I think first up, we'll be taking a look at Bloodywood's new video, which I'm really excited about. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going in fresh. And yeah, we'll be back to some normal stuff. Please send me some videos of things that I've missed this month, if you would be so kind. Let me know what new releases I missed. That kind of thing. Alrighty, so Thriller. Obviously, I know this video. I've seen it many times. It was one of my favorites growing up. My mom and my brother were always really big fans of Michael Jackson, and Thriller, I think in particular, we were always a fan of. So I'm really excited to take another look. It's such a legendary video. So get ready and let's watch Thriller.
Honestly, we're out of gas.
So, what are we gonna do now? I'm sorry I didn't believe you.
Can I ask you something?
What?
You know I like you, don't you?
Yes?
And I hope you like me the way I like you.
Yes?
I was wondering if you would be my girl.
Oh, Michael. It's beautiful.
Now it's official. I have something I want to tell you.
Yes, Michael?
I'm not like other guys.
Of course not. That's why I love you.
No, I mean I'm different.
What are you talking about? Are you all right?
Get away!
Wow, it's incredible, isn't it? I think that, I mean, this is so legendary, and I wasn't there when it came out, but I remember seeing it for the first time in my life, and it was just really terrifying, but at the same time also kind of funny too. Even as a kid, I thought it was quite funny and just really fun, especially because of where it goes in the rest of the video. But if you consider the effects at the time, all of that looked pretty cool. We're watching this in 4K now. I am, at least. I don't know if you are, but I'm watching it in 4K, and it's kind of remarkable how much detail was actually recorded, but our devices weren't able to show it properly. So it's really cool now to see this much detail. Like, we can see all of the detail of the knit that the girl's wearing and all of the hair and stuff. And you can clearly see like all of the effects are looking pretty like waxy. But back in the day when things were a little bit more grainy, you didn't see that as much. So it looked more convincing. It's just really cool looking. I love these eyeballs slash contacts. It's the teeth, and the whole transformation is just pretty creepy. In terms of the filmmaking, it looks very 80s film, as in it's the way that it's edited, the way that it's shot. It looks pretty, what movies at the time really looked like. Especially considering it's starting out as sort of this almost Grease-like romantic comedy almost. The way that, you could almost hear them call action when the car is driving and they start moving the crane down and the car stops. It's like, that they only drove like the little tiny bit of the road. And then they get out and the whole conversation starts, and it's just, shooting the girl from the front and then cutting to Michael from the front. And the dialogue is very typical as well. So it's just really, really funny to see. And the lighting too, it's interesting to see how it very swiftly moves from sort of, it's not daylight, but it's definitely bright, to when he transforms and everything's dark now and darker. So it's interesting to see the lighting is a bit cooler as well. As you can see here on the shot where I paused it, it just looks very cool toned, blue toned, and he's now obviously gonna go after her. So let's keep watching. Such a cool intro. I hadn't remembered how long this video is either. It's 13 minutes. So that's it's really impressive. And yeah, let's keep going.
Get out of here.
No, I'm enjoying this.
Well, I can't watch. Excuse me.
Scrawled in blood. What's it say? See you next Wednesday.
I forgot about that part, that all of a sudden I shifted to the cinema. That's so cool. I love that. And of course the cool pale light is obviously to signify the moon. And I wanted to cut to this shot or go back to this shot specifically. The lighting here is really nice because he's moving towards the camera, but they must have had like a light set up kind of behind the camera or very close to the camera that very softly like lights his face as well as his hands, and it looks really intimidating as he's moving closer by. And then this whole sequence is so fun, and he's just like having a good time and she's freaked out. It is quite spooky the way that she is grabbed here, and running through the woods and all of that. And then we got the proper thriller costume reveal. I love this look. It's so legendary. And we just saw it in the Motionless in White video that I did earlier this month as well, which is called Werewolf and is obviously also about a werewolf transformation. And this whole popcorn eating moment, it's become such a great meme over the years as well. It's like this video is still so alive in pop culture. It's quite amazing how well it's aged and how well it's lasted. You know what I mean?
Blood that hasn't been seen on this planet.
Well, I can't watch. Excuse me.
Scrawled in blood. What's it say? See you next Wednesday.
It's only a movie.
It's not funny.
You were scared, weren't you?
I wasn't that scared.
Yeah, you were scared.
It's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, you see a sight that almost stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes the sound before you make it. You start to freeze, and so it looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed. You hear the door slam and realize there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hand and wonder if you ever see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination. Girl, but all the while you hear a creature creeping up behind. You're out of time. They're out to get you. There's demons closing in on every side. They will possess you unless you change that number on your dial. And now is the time for you and I to cuddle close together. Yeah, all through the night, I'll save you from the terror on the screen. I'll make you see.
It's a great intro. I love this song so much. I feel like this is for Halloween what Mariah Carey's song is for Christmas. So they leave the cinema. He's walking here, and I love the setting here. It's very spooky, and I love the lighting especially. So we have a light from the back here. We have this background here, which was lit as well, which is so interesting to see because it adds a lot of depth to the whole scene, really. And so they're walking. We have some reflections here on slightly wet pavement. And I would guess that the camera is rolling along on a track, on a dolly, as they're walking. And it works really well. And we are cutting sort of back and forth between a slightly wider shot, and then we have this medium wide. And then we go back to this shot again. And all the while, like, we have some sort of like smoke machine going here. It's kind of going crazy. There's a lot of smoke. But it's creating some beautiful atmosphere. And then this shot in particular, I really noticed because they really lit the background here on this, storage depot or something. I don't know what this is. I can't really even see, like, their boxes, maybe something like that, like wooden pallets. And there's some really nice warmer light, so more yellow toned, which is contrasting with the more pale tone in the foreground, which is really nice. And again, like, it really adds some depth to all of this and some visual interest because essentially it's just a tracking shot of them walking and he's dancing around her. Like, not even that much is happening. I love actually that her shoes and some of her costume is sort of like tying into his red. So it's and she has the shirt and the earrings, and so it's clear that, you know, they're a couple that way. So that's sometimes how they use costumes to sort of signify that and symbolize it. And of course, he is wearing his legendary, you know, shoes with the white socks, and it's just it's such a great look. It's such a great look. And here we actually see this the light that they're lighting this segment with. And you can see how bright it is because it's really casting a lot of light onto the street here. And the way that he sings it and the way that it's shot, it really feels like a conversation. And I love that they actually shot it that way to make it seem as if it was a conversation, and him talking to her and sort of reassuring her and just having fun and poking fun at her a little bit. It's so cute. And I love these closer shots where we can really see their faces and their interaction. And also the acting is just great. Like, we don't talk about the acting a whole lot on this channel because usually the amount of acting going on is small. But here, obviously, there's some real acting going on. And, you know, they must have done this whole segment many, many times. But the way that it's acted as well as the way that it's edited makes it feel very smooth and as if it was really, truly like one segment shot in one go. It feels very natural, and I really like the editing a lot because the cuts, also at some point he turned and there was a nice cut that moved it right into where he was turning, except from a wider shot. So it feels very masterful.
Now is the time for you and I to cuddle close together. Yeah. All through the night, I'll save you from the terror on the screen. I'll make you see.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. The foulest stench is in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
Let's just quickly talk about that whole segment because it's incredible. So they just casually walk by this cemetery that is so spooky looking. It's just so cool to see. Like, as I was saying, like, they really went ham on the smoke machines. Like, it's really rolling off of these little hills here, and it looks really cool. I actually wonder if this was shot on a set because it feels like they cut from this street right to where they're walking in front of this bit here. And I wonder if they built this on a set and just had them walk in front of it, and then they cut back to this other setting, because this feels very crafted, if that makes sense. Like, this was made on an actual set. Just wanted to point out some of this great work here on this set as well. It's got all the trees and the shrubs and everything, and it's just looking really great. I love the dilapidated graves. And then, of course, we have the hands coming out of the sand and the soil here, which is just such an epic, typical zombie horror look. And I actually recently watched Night of the Living Dead for the first time, the George Romero film from 1968. And that pretty much like jump started the entire zombie genre. So it's really fun to see how much this too was inspired by that film. Really cool to see. And then I wonder if some of the names have maybe some significance. Like, I wonder if maybe it's an inside joke. Sometimes they'll do that, So I don't know what the names on the graves are. I'm sure that there may be some, Michael Jackson lore there. But it's really looking great. We have some really cool lights that are really looking so atmospheric with this smoke. All of this just looks wonderful. And I also wanted to point out some of the sound effects as well, like the stone rubbing over stone and the arm dropping to the ground. Oh, and this too is like there was some sound effects of the manhole and the cover like grating over the pavement, and they really added some of those effects because those aren't in the songs. It really adds some extra cinematic effect to it, and in general it really does look very cinematic. And again, it really comes down to the lighting and the editing. I would say the editing is really great and in a very cinematic way. And on top of that, like the camera movement is all very slow, it's very steady. There's a lot of steady shots. So a lot of this was shot on tripod. But if you contrast this, for example, to the Backstreet Boys video that we looked at last week, it's so different. It's so much more dynamic. This really uses a lot more of the cinematic tools that we know, like how to create depth into your shots. While the Backstreet Boys video is really sort of everything was, shot the character in center, in the front. It's really great. It really feels like a very rich world, and now the zombies are moving up to them, and there's a really great vanishing point here too. So it's really leading your eye into the background like that, which really, again, makes it feel like it has a lot of depth. And these buildings, I don't know what this is, but it looks quite imposing. So it's really cool, and the costumes for these zombies are also just looking really, really fantastic. Yeah, and then here he drops his arm, and it just has this funny thud to it. And that's kind of what I was talking about in terms of the sound design.
Shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
so great. I was just thinking to myself, it's like, if you think of Thriller, do you really think of the song or do you really think of the video? Like, whenever you mention it to people, it's like, ah, yeah, the zombies, right? To me, it's such a fantastic example of how important the video is for the song and the whole experience of the song, too. Like, it is absolutely fantastic. And if you hear the song, you think of the zombies. And the whole video, it's just so well done. And now we go to this wonderfully lit haunted house. I love that. It's just so cool. And I just wanted to quickly point out this moment here. You know, they're closing in and all of a sudden, you know, the camera, we edit to this shot of Michael and he is turned into a zombie too. And it's such a great reveal moment. Just to quickly go back to that, it's so well edited too. And also wanted to say, it's like they added some actual like film score to this segment, which really adds a lot to the tension. It works so well. And that one, okay, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So it's actually, they don't cut to Michael. The camera moves to Michael, which is honestly even better because it's just a beautiful shot where he is revealed so smoothly. And with the music that really, the high violins really add to that spooky factor. It's just really, really good. It's such an excellent moment. Fantastic. And the makeup is really excellent as well. It's like he's so creepy looking. There must be some, VFX makeup here with to make his eyes look more hollow and all of that. It's really cool. It's really good looking. And even with the 4K, it still holds up, you know? It's, in the past, they could get away with some more shoddy work sometimes, but 4K is very revealing. But even here, like all this time, like it just looks really good. And then I will show it shortly again, just for a second, but then it cuts back to the girl, and we actually have a trombone shot, which we've talked about before here on the channel, but that is an original Alfred Hitchcock design shot, where basically you're zooming and moving backwards at the same time, which means that the background, depending on whether you zoom in or out and move backwards or forwards, like the background compresses or stretches out. So it's usually used in moments that have a lot of strong emotion to them, and it's kind of to signify her terror in that moment. So take a look. I think it's so cool that they did that for this, and it's really beautiful looking too. It's so smooth. Very nice. And then we move into the whole dance sequence, which is obviously so legendary. I feel like as I was watching it, someone mentioned on the Backstreet Boys video that dance in Everybody is very inspired by this dance, and it clearly is. Here, what I love so much about this one too is, his outfit again stands out so much among these zombies. It's so bright. It's so colorful. We have the pink dress here, but it doesn't detract from him. He still really stands out. It's lovely. And then again, like it's shot in an interesting way, and we sort of cut back and forth between these dancers, and the camera almost seems to be moving among them at some points as well. And sometimes they're up high, sometimes they're sitting low with the camera, sometimes we get a little more close up. So it's edited quite interestingly, and it has a lot of dynamics to it. And for example, oops, I just saw it in the thumbnail. This shot here, like you can clearly see that it was shot on a crane. The camera is sitting up quite high, and we're just moving around, and it's just so lovely. And there's actually, from this side, there's not much lighting at all. You can see how long the shadows are here. So we have this light from the background, which is casting a pretty harsh lights on these people here, but it's getting softer the further we go, which you can tell by how soft these shadows are here. And that's really just very interesting also. And I don't know if, no, they didn't really change it. Like, he is pretty softly lit, especially compared to some of this here in the background, yet he still stands out, which in a large part is really because of the costume, as well as the focus obviously being on him. And I mean, it's the focus as in the camera was focused on him, but also because of how they position the dancers who are sort of spread out in this V shape, he is the focal point of the V shape as well. So he is really still the center of the composition, and it's just looking really nice, and it really leads your eye to him and make sure that even though he's not like the best lit here, your eye is still drawn to him. It's a very interesting approach. And we have some of this more, I actually do think that it was probably a set, probably at one of the studios or something. It may not have been, I don't know. Where was this shot? Does anyone know? Like, I would love to know where this was shot. I can imagine it being at a studio and they had this cemetery there as well, you know, so it's very possible, but it's still possible they just shot this somewhere in public. It is very possible. Okay, let's head to the haunted building.
So let me hold you tight and share up together.
Problem. Come on, I'll take you home.
Save you from the beast.
Incredible. Incredible. I love this so much. It's so legendary. I don't know. I absolutely adore the way that they did this. And so we have this whole sequence where she goes into the house, and I'm so happy that I just saw this film, Night of the Living Dead, because these are almost literal shots from that film where the zombies are like breaking through the windows and you see these arms coming through, you know what I mean? And the house that they're in the Night of the Living Dead is sort of similarly, you know, abandoned with all of these sheets covering whatever furniture there's left. And this moment I absolutely loved, where we see the first arms come through the floor. This is very spectacular. And very, very creepy, by the way. But they added lights here with the smoke machine, so you can really see the beautiful light beam come up, which really gives it that sort of added extra, like supernatural, creepy feel to it. It's so atmospheric, so nice. And she's just completely freaking out. And then they're coming closer and closer and closer to the camera. And then we have close-ups of her eyes, which beautiful makeup, by the way, really nice and soft. And then it's revealed that it's just normal Michael, and he wants to take her home. As in, I'm not sure where they are now, but he's just taking her and leaving the room, and all of the room is like pinky green pastels and sort of sweet looking, and then he turns around and he's still, you know, evil. And I was just thinking, like, this, you could almost read it as sort of an allegory for a gaslighting abuser, almost. Like, she keeps thinking like he is a crazy person, but then he makes her feel like she's perfectly safe, and they keep switching back and forth between that. Is there's there could be some subtext read from that. It's quite interesting, but still, I mean, it's definitely creepy. It's creepy. I just looked up John Landis, who directed this film, and I knew that it was directed by someone who was an experienced filmmaker. And it reads like it, right? It really feels like this was shot by proper, like, Hollywood cinematic filmmakers. And it's interesting because the film that he did before he did Thriller was actually An American Werewolf in London. And if you look at some of the stills from that film, I may include some, you can sort of tell how much actually they took inspiration from that too. It's like the main character wears a red jacket, and I haven't seen it, but it just looks like, it feels like they took some inspiration from that and just translated it to this video, which looks really fun. And John Landis went on to, you know, direct some pretty famous films like The Blues Brothers, and later some of the 2000s Spider-Man films. And there's a couple of other films that he went on to do. And it's just interesting to see, like, this is probably one of his most famous things. Like, I think probably most people have seen this over probably his films, you know what I mean? Although Blues Brothers was pretty big too. But I think this has had a far more lasting impact. Anyway, that was great fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, what you think of this video when you saw it for the first time. I hope you have a great Halloween. Let me know what you're dressing up as, if you're dressing up, and or if you already dressed up for one of the parties in the past weekend. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going back to some more new releases soon. You can join us in the comments. You can join us on the Discord channel if you'd like to talk about movies and music. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please take care, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace.